Congresswoman Fallin, and thank you for being here. And as President Hale said, thank you for your many years of public service. And my question goes to, as you probably aware, the federal stimulus in the last 2 years was used to help fund higher education. I think 68 million last year, 58 million this year. And so the heart of my question is, knowing that you and I and the Chancellor sat through a few State of the State addresses, would you support and commit to restoring those stimulus funds by including that in your first State of the State address to send a strong message to the legislature that education is one of your priorities?
Well, and you're right, the state of Oklahoma did get, let's see, I got that figure written down. I think it was 58 million, if I remember. 58 million? 58 million in stimulus funding. The state of Oklahoma got, other funds for other different things. My concern with any stimulus funding is, when it comes down from Washington, is we always have to know what the strings are that are attached to it. And the one thing I want to make sure that doesn't happen to some of our state agencies, whether it's our institutions of higher education or other state agencies, is that a lot of times the federal government will put into stimulus funding that goes back to the states, you have to do this at this level, and when the money runs out that year or the next year, you still have to spend at that level, and you still have to do this thing, whatever the thing is, for your citizens. And so what happens is that many of our state agencies end up with a cliff, and that you're at this funding level, you've balanced your budget, or you help create some of the holes in your budget, and you get that stimulus money to go in there, and then once it disappears in a year or 2 years, then you have that hole again, and then you have a cliff of funding, but you may still have some of those federal mandates attached. So the question is, where do you come up with the money at that point? And that's a challenge. So I try to look at each of the different programs that are available to the state on an individual basis. I think it's wise to do that. And answer back to your question whether we'll be able to fill that $58 million hole once again, once the stimulus money runs out. Once again, it all kind of depends on where we're at with State Question 744 and with our economy the way it is right now. But all in all, I do support the funding of higher education. It's essential for our workforce. I'm proud that we've had a record number of adults and students going back to improve their work skills, which is very important to our economy, very important to the various industries that we had. I mentioned about the aerospace industry telling me we've got to have more engineers in the aerospace industry. So we got to keep those people going on to college and staying in college and universities once they start. So if we have the money, it's certainly something that I would like to hold harmless if possible in higher education, but it all depends about where we're at with the state questions and the revenue sources of the state itself.